The confrontation. Headlights pierced the twilight darkness as Gabriel Winters pulled into the driveway. A dull pain pounded behind his eyes, and the client meeting had been delayed. He saw the faint light coming from the living room window as he got closer to the front door. Strange. When Olivia was at home by herself, she frequently had all the lights on. Not wishing to wake up his pregnant wife if she was resting, he entered discreetly. However, he spotted her sitting stiff on the couch and gazing blankly ahead as he turned the corner into the living room. "Is everything well, Liv?" Her face was a mask of agony as she turned to face him. "Gabriel, we must speak." The backs of his neck stood on end. His gut churned with dread as he slumped into the recliner across from her. "What's the matter?" Olivia inhaled tremblingly. "This baby, honey, is the product of a retaliation." Certain that he had misheard, Gabriel blinked. "How come? What topic are you discussing?" "I slept with someone else because I believed you had cheated on me." She hardly raised her voice above a whisper. He gazed at her, unable to understand. The words were nonsensical. "Olivia is herself. Are you having an affair?" "There is no way." "And yet," he said softly, "you're 6 months pregnant. Are you saying that the baby isn't yours?" she asked, nodding while tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry." The room tilted sideways. "Gabriel." Gabriel's knuckles whitened as he clutched the chair's arms. "Who did you sleep with?" he questioned. "I can't tell you that." Since Olivia shook her head. "Can't you tell me?" He raised his voice. "You're hiding things from me after dropping this bombshell. Try to comprehend, please." "Know what?" Gabriel got up quickly. "That I was cheated on by my wife. That she is carrying the kid of another man." "Olivia, what precisely am I meant to comprehend here?" His tone made her wince. "Please allow me to explain, even though I know I have caused you great pain." "Describe." "Nothing can be explained." Now, unable to control the whirlpool of emotions, he was shrieking. "I don't have that mess, you do. I wish you luck in raising a child by yourself." He pivoted on his heel and strode in the direction of a door. He stated he had to leave before he did anything he would later regret. "Hold on." Olivia made a frantic call. "I have a secret regarding your brother, Marcus, that you might find interesting." Gabriel's hand was on the doorknob as he froze. "Marcus, what about him?" Olivia's tone faltered. He showed me pictures of you and another female. I believed you had cheated because of this." Gabriel slowly turned around, his head spinning. "Pictures? Which pictures?" "They showed you embracing and kissing the cheek of a blonde woman. Marcus claimed to have seen you two together several times." Flatly, Gabriel answered, "That's not possible. I have never betrayed you." Olivia's gaze expanded. However, the pictures were phony, or misrepresented. As the pieces began to come together, Gabriel's jaw tightened. "Marcus tricked you. God, please." Olivia's face was buried in her hands. "What did I do?" Gabriel stood there feeling conflicted over his wife's continued betrayal and his anger toward his brother. He yanked the door open and rushed out into the night without saying another word. Marcus's downtown apartment was a blur of a drive. Gabriel's tumultuous mood was reflected in the rain beating against the windshield. As he raced through the little seaside village of Ravenwood, he hardly saw the familiar streets. Ignoring the late hour, he hammered on Marcus' door. Gabriel pushed past his brother into the flat when he eventually opened door, appearing bewildered and unkempt. "Gabe, what the devil?" Marcus staggered back. "Why are you here?" Gabriel snarled and showed me the pictures. Marcus blinked. "Which pictures?" "Don't act foolish." "The photos of me allegedly cheating that you showed Olivia." Marcus's expression changed from one of understanding to one of panic. "I have no idea what you're discussing." "Stop the nonsense." Gabriel moved toward his brother. "You tricked my wife into believing I had cheated on her." "Why?" Marcus put up his hands and stepped back. "Look, you're completely mistaken. I only wanted to keep you safe." "Defend me." Gabriel gave a sour laugh. "By ruining my marriage." "No." Marcus struck the wall with his back. "You see, it's complicated. I can describe everything." "Then begin to describe. Right now." Gabriel's patience, however, broke when Marcus opened his mouth. He grabbed his brother by the collar of his shirt and slammed him against the wall as he pushed forward. The glass of a framed painting broke as it fell to the ground. "Be honest with me." Gabriel let out a shout. Marcus glanced at the painting that had fallen. Then Gabriel again. Gabriel hesitated at something in his face. For the first time, he looked down and saw the outline of a safe peeking out from behind the shattered frame. "What's inside?" he made a demand. "Nothing," Marcus said hastily. Too soon. After letting his brother go, Gabriel walked confidently to the safe. "Crack it open." "Gabe, hurry up. This is absurd." "Open, open, open." The safe. After hesitating, Marcus sagged to his feet. His fingers were shaking as he entered the code. Stacks of paperwork were visible as the safe door opened. Gabriel's face grew gloomier as he flipped through the documents. "Marcus, what the devil is this? These appear to be fake real estate transactions." Marcus put his head in his hands and collapsed into the couch. Was this how it was meant to go? He muttered. "Wasn't." With a look of disappointment on his face, his brother looked up. "I was a part of a real estate scam. Some of the projects were accidentally completed by your company. I figured it out because I was worried you would. You attempted to dissolve my marriage, then." Gabriel's tone was eerily silent. Marcus gave me a pitiful nod to divert my attention. I apologize, Gabe. I never intended for things to get out of control. Gabriel fixed his gaze on his brother, a stranger with a recognizable face. He collected the incriminating documents and left Marcus alone with the remains of his schemes without saying another word. When Gabriel came back, the home was dark. He yelled for Olivia but got no response. His assumptions were validated by a brief search. She had left. Head spinning after the discoveries of the night, he collapsed into the bed. Something rough sank into his leg as he moved. He scowled as he took Olivia's phone out of his pocket. In his rush to face Marcus, he must have accidentally snatched it. Gabriel debated as he gazed at the gadget. After everything that had transpired, his hand hesitated over the power button, something he had never done before, violating Olivia's privacy. Then he inhaled deeply and pushed it. A pattern lock was visible when the screen brightened up. Tracing a familiar shape, Gabriel's hand trembled a little. Their wedding day. The telephone unlocked. He paused one more before launching her email app. It would be there if there was any information regarding her location. Instead, he discovered something that chilled his blood. Olivia and Elena Vasquez exchanged emails for months. Discuss acquiring evidence, conducting investigations, and sending coded messages regarding meetings. As Gabriel put together the truth, his eyes grew wide. No affair had been going on with Olivia. All along, she had been looking into Marcus and his other conspirators. Searching desperately for the latest texts, he scrolled. A gathering at the old Ravenwood Lighthouse is planned for evening. Gabriel's phone buzzed as he was about to leave. An unidentified number. Stop digging, for your own good, was the message that appeared when he opened it. He would find out what was going on, whatever it was. He also intended to locate Olivia. Gabriel was confronted by the ancient Ravenwood Lighthouse, a beaten guardian against the lowering sky. He made his way up the steep slope, the beam of his flashlight flickering wildly over the uneven ground as the wind ripped at his clothes. The air had a salty, storm-like taste. At the bottom of the building, he stopped, his thoughts racing. Olivia has always been looking into Marcus. It was all a lie, the pregnancy, the affair. However, why? Why? Furthermore, who is Elena Vasquez? At his touch, the door creaked open, the hinges rusting. Blinking as his eyes adapted to the darkness, Gabriel entered. A silhouetted man stood in front of a distant window. He shouted out to Olivia, fear and hope battling in his chest. The figure pivoted. Not Olivia, a short, dark-haired woman with piercing eyes. She answered, "You must be Gabriel. My name is Elena Vasquez." Gabriel is tense. "My wife is where?" Elena raised her hands. "Olivia is secure. She was unable to attend tonight. She requested that I tell you more." "Could you tell me exactly what?" "On the reality." Elena motioned him to take a seat. "I understand how perplexed you must be by all of this." Gabriel didn't move. "You could say that. My wife is carrying the child of another man. I now learn that Olivia has been collaborating with you on an investigation into my brother's involvement in some sort of plot." Elena gave a nod. "Months ago, Olivia had a suspicion that something was wrong with your brother's business transactions. She made contact with me. Investigative journalism is what I do. We have been collecting evidence regarding the affair and a large-scale real estate scheme." The word cover story caused Gabriel's voice to crack a little. "While she was assisting me with my investigation," Elena remarked softly to explain Olivia's strange behavior and absences. "Gabriel, there was never another man. Olivia adores you above all else." Gabriel fell down on a crate nearby. His head was spinning. "What kept her from telling me?" "She feared you wouldn't trust her, so she wanted to keep you safe." "Not without evidence." Elena started to say anything else, but they both froze as they heard a cracking noise. Her gaze expanded. "We must leave this place. Right now." The lighthouse was rocked by a loud explosion before Gabriel could inquire why. He just caught Elena's arm as they both staggered as the floor rocked beneath them. What on earth was that? Over the ringing in his ears, he yelled. Elena said, "Someone doesn't want us talking." The door would not budge when she tried it. "They have confined us." Gabriel scanned the area frantically. There must be an alternative. Aware of the moaning sounds emanating from the damaged lower levels of the lighthouse, they searched furiously. It trembled menacingly as dust and rubble showered down from above. Elena's voice was tight and urgent at this point. Elena was crouching beside a portion of floorboards that appeared somewhat different from the others, and I believe I discovered something. Gabriel hurried over. When they pried them up, a dark hole was visible underneath. Gabriel breathed a sigh. "What is the end result?" Elena gave a headshake. "We don't know, but it's our only choice." They slid themselves into the pitch-black depths below, taking one more look at the groaning lighthouse above. Dust and the musty smell of long-forgotten secrets filled the tunnel's air. Elena and Gabriel walked carefully, the faint glow of Gabriel's phone flashlight the sole illumination on their way. Elena said, "Watch your step," her voice resonating a little in the cramped room. "The stability of these tunnels is unknown." With his thoughts racing, Gabriel nodded. "In your opinion, how deep does this network go? In a literal or symbolic sense?" "I suspect we're about to learn the truth on both points," which is why Elena's tone was somber. They had continued, the tunnel getting wider and wider. Gabriel saw rough-hewn branches that led off in different ways. "Down here is like a maze," he murmured. Alina hesitated, looking at a tiny gadget she had taken out of her pocket. I believe we're moving toward the town center, she remarked. These tunnels need to link important places. They turned a corner and entered a larger room as if at the same moment. Filtered light from a grate above showed the shapes of a makeshift workstation and filing cabinets. What is this location? Gabriel muttered. Already, Alina was searching through the papers scattered on the desk. She almost controlled her excitement as she remarked, it's an office. We had just discovered the core of the plot, if my memory serves me well. Gabriel accompanied her while his architect gazed at the rudimentary maps that were affixed to the walls. He understood that they were plans, but they were all incorrect. The materials listed and the proportions don't match the formal blueprints I worked on. Alina nodded in agreement. They're pushing through risky, inferior projects by utilizing the reputation of your company. And have a look at this. She displayed a document with the chief of police's, the mayor's, and the bank president's signatures. They all have a hand in it. Gabriel felt a knot in his stomach. To what extent does this go? Alina was about to respond when they both froze at the sound of approaching voices. They were almost in complete darkness when Gabriel hurriedly turned on a light on his phone. It's unbelievable that Marcus allowed his brother to learn about it. If word gets out about this operation, we're all finished, said a gravelly voice. Calm down, said another voice. Gabriel recognized it, and his blood froze. Ravenwood's mayor. We are in control of it. We'll locate Gabriel shortly, and the lighthouse has been taken care of. As the invisible men moved past their hiding place, the voices grew softer. Alina and Gabriel did not move, not daring to breathe. When it was safe to do so, Alina whispered, we need to get this evidence out. It's larger than we anticipated. The entire town's leadership is dishonest. Gabriel gave a nod. He clenched his jaw. The abrupt buzzing of his phone interrupted his sentence. Let's grab what we can. When he looked down and saw the incoming video call, his heart stopped. Marcus's fingers shook as he took the phone. The screen was filled with his brother's face, his features contorted by a chilly smile. Marcus said, hello, little brother. Someone here seems interested in speaking with you. Olivia was seen shackled to a chair with a terrified expression on her face as the camera panned. Gabriel, she exclaimed. Marcus's face came back. This is the offer. Either you and your inquisitive journalist friend destroy all of the evidence you've discovered, or Olivia will pay the price. It will take you an hour to comply. Gabriel was horrified as he stared at the blank screen as the call abruptly ended. Alina lightly touched his arm. What are we going to do, Gabriel? His eyes were filled with conflict as he gazed at her. I don't know, he said in a raspy voice. There is not much time left. With arms full of incriminating documents, Gabriel and Alina headed for the exit, the tunnel seemingly closing in on them. The burden of the decision that faced them was far greater than the weight of the evidence. Alina's voice was tight as she stated, we cannot give in to Marcus' demands. This is no longer limited to your family. The whole town is on the line. Gabriel tightened his jaw. What about Olivia? I can't just leave my wife and child. They blinked in the glaring daylight as they came out of a secret entrance next to the town hall. The town itself seemed to be holding its breath, since the streets were strangely still. Alina looked around anxiously and added, we need to think this through. Perhaps Olivia can be saved, and the truth can be revealed. With his thoughts racing, Gabriel nodded. The office of the mayor. Perhaps we can push Blackwood's hand if we can face him head-on. They arrived at the magnificent structure, whose immaculate exterior belied the depravity that grew within. When they rushed in, the receptionist's eyes opened, but they were able to get away with it thanks to a glimpse of Alina's press credentials. They walked into Mayor Blackwood's office without warning, and he looked up in astonishment. As he studied their somber faces and the pile of documents in Alina's arms, his amiable politician smile wavered. He recovered rapidly and said, Mr. Winters, Ms. Vasquez. This unexpected joy is due to whom? Blackwood, stop the deed. Gabriel snarled. Everything is known to us. The cover-ups, everything. The mayor's gaze grew stony. I'm sure I have no idea what you're discussing. Alina moved closer and covered his desk with the damning paperwork. Mr. Mayor, all of these bear your signature. Would you mind sharing how your name appeared on blueprints for structures that aren't structurally sound? Were these memos about paying city officials bribes? The facade of Blackwood broke. He looked from them to the door and back again. You don't know what you're getting into, he whispered quietly. This is not limited to our small community. There are influential persons at play, those who will not think twice about it. To what end? Gabriel cut him off. Endanger the lives of innocent people. Destroy families. For that, it's a little late. The mayor's face changed, and a shrewd gleam came into his eyes. Perhaps we can reach a consensus, he replied with ease. I have no doubt that we can come up with a win-win solution, one that guarantees the financial stability and safety of all. Alina twisted a disgusted lip. Are you attempting to buy us off? I'd rather consider it a business proposal, Blackwood said, one that might eliminate all of your issues. Gabriel loomed over the desk and stepped forward. If you end up in a prison cell, that's the only thing that will vanish. Alina was quicker than the mayor, whose fingers crept toward a button under his desk. With a pleased look, she took out her phone. If I were you, I wouldn't do that, she said. My news network has been live streaming this entire discussion. Forget about it, Blackwood. The mayor's expression lost its color. The ticking of an elaborate clock on the wall was the only sound in the room for a brief period of time. Then there was anarchy. A couple of stout policemen emerged as the door flew wide. One of them sarcastically asked, "Is everything okay in here, Mayor Blackwood?" When Gabriel learned that these weren't the cavalry, his heart fell. They were the muscle of Blackwood. "Arrest them," yelled the mayor. "No more pretense of civility. Is there a conspiracy, trespassing, an attempt at coercion? Choose." Gabriel and Alina were already on the move when the officers moved forward. Alina clutched the evidence to her chest as they ducked under grabbing arms and ran for the door. Shouts and pounding footsteps followed them as they ran, turning the hallway into a blur. Even though Gabriel's lungs were burning, he was motivated by the thought of Olivia, who was still in danger. As anticipated, they quickly broke up as they bounded out of the building. By turning to the left, Gabriel diverted their assailants from Alina and the valuable papers. With a little advantage due to his architect's familiarity with the structure of the town, he ducked down vaulted fences and alleys. However, a piercing ache pierced his side as he turned a bend. He stumbled, horrified to see that he had been clipped by one of the officers with a reckless shot. Trying to stop the bleeding, he pressed himself against a wall while gasping. Marcus had left him another message when his phone buzzed. He opened it with shaky fingers. Coordinates, then 5 terrifying words. "Final opportunity. Come by yourself. Act quickly." Gabriel shut his eyes. He felt the weight of everything fall on him. He was essential to Olivia. He was needed in the town, and there wasn't much time left for him to save either. He grunted in agony, pulled himself from the wall, and started running again, hoping he was making the right decision. The dirt crunched under Gabriel's tires as his automobile slid to a stop in front of the deserted warehouse. Every time he took a deep breath, the agony in his side throbbed, reminding him of how close he had been to failing. However, he was unable to consider such at this time. He was essential to Olivia. As he pushed the rusty metal door open, it creaked and he saw a dark, grotesque interior. In the weak shafts of light coming in through dirty windows, dust particles danced. Gabriel's gaze flitted about, looking for any movement. His voice reverberated in the empty room as he shouted out, "Olivia." He heard a muffled sound coming from the far corner. Olivia sat there, lit by a solitary bulb. She was strapped to a chair, and when she saw him, her eyes widened in relief and terror. Gabriel's heart was racing as he hurried forward. He fumbled with the ropes that bound her wrists and murmured, "I'm here, it's okay. I will remove you from this place." "Behind you, Gabriel." Olivia let out a cry. He turned and saw a rifle barrel directly in front of him. Marcus emerged from the darkness with a chilly grin contorting his face. "Hello, little brother," Marcus remarked in a contemptuous tone. "It's very kind of you to come." Gabriel carefully lifts his hand, his thoughts whirling. "Put down the gun, Marcus. It's finished. Everything has already been made public by Alina." Marcus's laugh was abrasive and resentful. "Do you think I'm interested in that?" "Gabriel, it was never simply about the money. It's all about you. You have always been the focus. What topic are you discussing?" Marcus's eyes spark with bitterness that lasts a lifetime. Gabriel, the successful architect with a picture-perfect life, is the golden child of his parents. You know what it's like to live in your shadow. Perplexed, Gabriel shook his head. "I never shut up, Marcus." With the rifle trembling in his hands, Marcus let out a shout. "You cannot pretend to be innocent. No more. I'm going to take everything away from you since you took everything away from me." His finger tightened on the trigger as he swung the rifle in Olivia's direction. Time seems to slow down. Gabriel knew he only had a few seconds to act after noticing the terror in Olivia's eyes and the insanity in his brother's. As the pistol sounded, he sprang forward and tackled Marcus. The bullet embedded itself in a neighboring support beam after the shot went wide. On the dusty floor, they struggled for control of the weapon. Neither of them notices Olivia in the confusion. Throughout the altercation, she had been strengthening her ties, and with one last, desperate attempt, she was able to break free. As she staggered to her feet, she looked around wildly for a weapon. Marcus and Gabriel traded blows as they rolled across the floor. Gabriel fought with the strength of desperation despite his injuries. He could not allow Marcus to prevail. Not after everything, not now. Marcus's hold on the rifle abruptly relaxed. The weapon landed at Olivia's feet after skidding across the concrete floor. Her hands shaking, she grabbed it and pointed it toward the fighting brothers. "Stop," she yelled. "Now, both of you, stop." They went cold. For a few period, the only sound in the warehouse was their labored breathing as I looked up at her. Then the distant blare of police sirens arrived from outside. Marcus's face twisted with anger. He pushed Gabriel away and ran frantically for the door. On adrenaline alone, however, Gabriel was able to tackle him again. Debris flew as they collided with a pile of ancient containers. Gabriel pinned his brother to the ground as the sirens became louder. He panted, "It's over, Marcus. Simply give up." Marcus lost his will to fight and went limp. When Gabriel carefully let him go, he saw the shattered shell of the brother he had known before, not the monster of the previous several days. The warehouse doors flew wide, letting glaring light flood the room. Alina and a group of state police officers hurried in. "Are you okay?" called Gabriel, Olivia, and Alina. Gabriel's energy started to wear off as the cops rushed in, checking on Olivia and securing Marcus. He fell to his knees, tired, as the ache in his side came back full force. It was done. They were secure. Gabriel, however, realized that the real reckoning was only getting started as he watched his brother being carried away in handcuffs and Olivia's face smeared with tears. There was a lot of activity at the state police headquarters. With a bandage covering the area of his body where the bullet had grazed him, Gabriel sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair. Olivia was speaking to a detective across the room, but her voice was too low for him to hear. Alina paced close by, sending her editor quick texts. She whispered, "This is going to blow the lid off everything. Ravenwood will never be the same, including the mayor, the police chief, and half of the city council." With his head still spinning from the events of the last several days, Gabriel nodded absently. It seems like forever ago that he had returned home to find Olivia confessing to an unfulfilled affair in their dimly lighted living room. A grim-faced constable came as a door opened. "We are now prepared for your statement, Mr. Winters." Gabriel went on to describe everything for the next 2 hours. The underground tunnels, the concealed documents, Marcus's manipulation, and the fictitious affair. The officer's eyebrows rose with every disclosure. "Are you also positive that Mayor Blackwood was involved?" the policeman inquired. Gabriel gave a nod. "In his office, Alina has a tape of our altercation. Additionally, there are records that connect him to the phony building projects." After taking a note, the officer paused. "Mr. Winters, there's one more thing. Your sibling is asking to talk to you." Gabriel felt his stomach tighten. "That's not a good concept, in my opinion. I get it, however he's been helping out by giving names and information. He might be able to bring down the entire network with his testimony." Gabriel sighed deeply in agreement. Marcus sat in his orange jumpsuit, looking little and forlorn, as he was escorted to an interrogation room. Marcus stated in a raspy voice, "Gabriel, I apologize for everything." Gabriel waited without saying anything. Unable to look him in the eyes, Marcus went on. "I want you to know that I never intended for things to get this far, even though I know it won't make a difference. Duration 00 I became overly involved with the wrong people because I was upset and envious. However, I never intended to harm you or Olivia." "But you did," Gabriel muttered. Marcus nodded, a tear streaming down his cheek. "You hurt us both. I'll strive to make things right for the rest of my life, starting by telling the police all I know." Gabriel experienced an odd spectrum of feelings as he walked out of the room. Anger at his brother's treachery, relief that the truth was now being revealed, and a profound, agonizing sadness for the relationship that will never be the same. Olivia was in the corridor, waiting for him. She had black circles beneath her eyes and appeared worn out. "Can we have a conversation?" softly, she inquired. In a private setting, an unoccupied conference room was discovered. They simply stared at one another for a long time, the weight of unsaid words lingering between them. Olivia finally broke the stillness. "Gabriel, I have to tell you something. I ought to have told you this months ago." Uncertain of what further information might still be revealed, Gabriel braced himself. Olivia inhaled deeply. "It is not the consequence of an affair, baby. I made use of a donor." Unable to understand, Gabriel blinked. "How come? Why would you?" Olivia whispered softly, "Because you can't have children. When I was researching fertility treatments, I learned about it. According to the results of the tests, Gabriel, you are sterile." The room appeared to slant to one side. Gabriel's mind spinning, he clutched the edge of the table. "No, that isn't feasible. It isn't feasible. How come you didn't tell me?" Tears clouded Olivia's eyes. "I had no idea how. I panicked as you were ecstatic about starting a family. I believed that everything would be resolved if I could only become pregnant. When I couldn't think of a way to tell you the truth, I used the fictitious affair as an excuse." Overwhelmed, Gabriel slumped in a chair. Olivia said, "So everything, the affair, the investigation, everything, was because I was a coward. I made things worse even though I was attempting to keep you safe. I apologize profusely, Gabriel." He gazed at her, this long-loved woman who was now practically a stranger. Finally, he replied, "I need some time to process all of this." Olivia wiped away a tear and nodded. "I'll be here when you're ready to talk, but feel free to take as much time as you need." Gabriel felt as though he was seeing the world for the first time as he walked out into the crisp night air after leaving the police station. All of his preconceived notions had been completely upended. His future, his family, and his marriage were all uncertain. He wandered through the streets of Ravenwood, a place he had lost all sense of. Gabriel understood that this was more than the conclusion of a nightmare when the first rays of daylight appeared on the horizon. He had no idea where it would take him, but it was the start of something completely new. Gabriel sat in his new apartment 6 months later, gazing out the window at the busy street below. The room had very little furniture. He hadn't felt inclined to do much decorating. The feeling of home was still absent. A news anchor on TV rambled on about the most recent events in what the media had called the Ravenwood scandal. The town of Ravenwood is at last beginning to rebuild thanks to the support of the former mayor and a number of well-known business people. Accountability and transparency have been pledged by the new leadership. Gabriel ignored it. He had endured the disgrace long enough. The continual reminders were unnecessary for him. He was startled out of his reverie by a knock on the door. Alina was standing there with a big smile on her face when he opened it. She held out a bottle of champagne and remarked, "I hope I'm not interrupting. However, I believe that we might have something to celebrate." Gabriel forced a tiny grin. "Enter now. What's the event?" Alina took out a little envelope and placed the bottle on the kitchen counter. With a note of incredulity in her voice, she declared, "I won the Pulitzer." "That's fantastic for the Ravenwood investigation, Alina," Gabriel replied, sincerely pleased for her. "Well done." Gabriel's phone buzzed when Alina poured the champagne. "Olivia texted me on my way up, hoping everything was still all right." Steeling himself, he inhaled deeply. Alina was informed that Olivia was on her way. She ought to arrive at any moment. Alina nodded, her eyes full of comprehension. "Would you like me to leave?" Gabriel gave a headshake. "No, remain, please." After a few minutes, there was another knock. Olivia was waiting there when Gabriel answered the door, her tummy now bulging from the last stages of pregnancy. "Hello, thank you for seeing me," she murmured quietly. Gabriel moved to make room for her. The three of them stood awkwardly in the tiny living room for a moment. Alina sensed the tension and stated, "I should go." "Again, congrats, Olivia and Gabriel. On everything." Olivia and Gabriel sat on opposite ends of the couch after she departed. Months of unsaid words filled the void that lingered between them. Gabriel finally said something. "How do you feel?" Olivia absently stroked her stomach. "Enormous. Uncomfortable. I'm thrilled. Horrified. Everything mentioned above." Gabriel gave a nod. "Yes, I understand how you feel." Olivia gazed at him, her eyes alternating between dread and hope. "Gabriel, you mentioned that you needed time, and I know that our counseling sessions have been productive. I simply need to know our current situation." Gabriel was silent for a while, collecting his thoughts. Finally, he said, "I'm still processing everything." Olivia was devastated more than I can express by the lies and deceit. With tears in her eyes, she nodded. "However," Gabriel added, "I've had to face a lot of things over the last few months. My personal inadequacies, my concerns of becoming a father, and my constant attempts to be flawless and meet everyone's expectations. I can't say I'm over it all, but I do know I want to be a part of this child's life," he said, taking a long breath. "Let me tell you about our child's life." Olivia broke down in tears. "That's all I've ever wanted," she muttered. Gabriel tentatively took her hand as he reached out. "I cannot guarantee that it will be simple. We need to regain a great deal of trust. However, I believe we have a chance at something different, something truthful." Olivia gave his hand a squeeze. "I will attempt for the rest of my life to make up for the hurt I caused you, Gabriel. However, I swear to you that going forward, we will only speak the truth." Gabriel experienced hope for the first time in a long time as they sat there with their hands joined and the future ahead of them undetermined but full of possibilities. It would be a tough journey ahead. Trust needed to be restored and wounds needed to be healed. But despite everything, as he gazed at Olivia and the life they had built together, Gabriel was aware that this was a unique opportunity for them to try again. And this time they would establish honesty, forgiveness, and love as the cornerstones of their lives.